Welcome to Yaya's World. I'm your host, Yaya Morgan. I realized something. The world is waiting for you to become the person you are supposed to be. Not who people expect, not who your environment tried to shape you into, but who God, the Creator, designed you to be. Because when you're led by God, experiences and encounters aren't random. They're lessons, or they're blessings, and at some point, you have to decide to accept them as both. Very young, I witnessed things I didn't have the words for. I saw injustice, I saw neglect, I saw substance abuse, I saw unstable relationships, I saw environments filled with tension and expectations that didn't feel safe. And when you're a child, you don't analyze it, you absorb it like a sponge. You carry it. You try to make sense of it later. I even remember having a best friend in preschool who didn't look like me. And we didn't even fully understand why that even mattered to the world. But knowing that one little fact, somehow we did understand it. And that fact actually mattered and how our life was going to play out. My school journey started at Ogleness Child Care in San Rafael, and then Manzanita Child Care Center in Marin City. And I'll never forget those places because that was my foundation. I experienced something real, unconditional love from teachers who saw me. And then came my first day at Willow Creek Academy. I think I lasted like 3 days. My mom transferred me to Bayside Martin Luther King Jr. Academy and everything changed. Bayside felt like a big, happy family. My sibling was there. My cousins were there. It felt safe. But even in safe spaces, challenges show up. I got bullied for 3 things: my weight, my hairstyle, and how smart I was. In that combination, it can do something to you as a kid. It makes you question yourself. It makes you shrink, and it forces you to grow. And in my household, though, there was no room for excuses. School came first. No nonsense. Okay? So I made a decision early. I wanted it more for myself. So when our 6th grade year, when they transitioned us from Sausalito back to Marin City into the new building that they had just built at Martin Luther King Jr. Academy campus, which is now Phillips campus, I saw it more than an opportunity for me to move and shake the way I wanted to. And I made it my mission to become valedictorian. But at that time, I didn't even know that was a thing. I just wanted to be the best at doing my work so I could eventually relax. I was one of those kids. Work hard, relax later. Shout out to Lynette. And I did it by just a few points. I remember even advocating for myself, going to my math teacher and saying I deserve at least an A or an A plus, or even an A minus, because I know a percentage, it might count in this scenario. And that moment taught me something very, very powerful. Closed mouths don't get fed. And some mouths doesn't even know what they want, but they can tell you things that they don't want. So that should also be attributed to how we can start living our lives and start to believe in yourself. It's not optional. It's necessary. So at that point, I was proud of myself. But even then, I was still thinking ahead. By graduation, I knew one thing's for sure. I didn't want to go to Tampines High School. Not because it wasn't a good school per se, but because I didn't want to walk in anyone else's shadow. I was 3rd generation in Marin City. So basically, everybody in my family went there. And I had kind of already seen what could happen. I saw students fall through the cracks. I saw peers lose focus on education. And I just asked myself, what if there was more for me? So I explored private schools in Marin and San Francisco. Shout out to Bridget Gap, Sam, Kate Hamilton, my tutor, and Denny, because they made sure I showed up to these open houses. And I landed at Marin Catholic, a predominantly all-white school where majority of the kids were wealthy. Now let me be real with you. That environment brought a whole new set of challenges for me. I struggled with identity. I was on scholarship. I didn't always have money for gourmet lunches. And I just didn't understand some of the things that they would talk about. And honestly, I just felt too black for the white students. And I got compared to students who were half black. But at the same time, they celebrated what I could do. So the stereotypes weren't always presented to me on an everyday basis. I was actually celebrated and maybe even became a token child, which has negative connotations because I'm the only type of black child who was accepted out of the black community that was my home for the time being. I was asked to control other students at that same school with their behavior just because we had similar complexions. But I also realized really quickly they loved when I performed for them. For 3 years straight during a rally, I was going to win the dance competition for our class because I had pride in my class, not just pride in who I am and where I come from, but whatever room I step in, I feel like I have pride because I'm a part of a team. They loved when I played sports. They respected me when I became a Kairos leader. So I made another decision. I will not be swallowed by this campus. I will make a name for myself one way or another. And that's exactly what I did. I challenged the status quo in every debate I could have with the sister on campus. I challenged my theology teachers time and time again. It was fun. But then another thing hit me. Was I actually being prepared for college? Was I going to go into a college, what they call PWIs, predominantly white institution, and was I going to be able to survive? I was introduced to something really, really quickly, and this is what changed my whole trajectory about life as far as my higher education. I was introduced to a world I didn't even know I needed. Black excellence. And I found it at Tuskegee University. But let me tell you how I got there. I went to the Black College Expo in Oakland, prepared. Shout out to Betty Hodges at the Hannah Project. I had my transcripts ready, my personal statement ready, and my resume ready. And I had made packets, and I was ready to sell myself. I went table to table in at least 10 schools. 9 of them accepted me on spot with scholarships. That moment showed me something important. Preparation meets opportunity, and doors will open. Tuskegee University changed my life. Tuskegee taught me how to plant a seed and have the patience to watch it grow. Whether it was friendships, professors, or the curriculum, everything required intention. And for the first time, I fully understood something deep. Being black is powerful. It's beautiful. And while we understand that within ourselves, it hits differently when you're surrounded by it. When multiple people are trying to see what you see. When you walk onto a black campus, you feel it. It's not explained, it's experienced, it's felt. And as a political science major, my dean pushed us hard. Dr. Chom, shout out to you. We were in every building on campus. We had to complete more credits than the engineer majors. At some time, it felt overwhelming. But then at the same time, I understood why. And he explained it eventually. He said in his accent from Senegal, I want you to understand how systems work. Every building, every space has its own rules, its own flow, and its own culture. And that's the lesson that stuck with me. Because I realized life is the same way. Your family operates a certain way, your friendships another, your career, whether it changes for the bad or for the better, your community, people come and go. So the real question it became, or is, how do I operate with all of them without losing myself, my core self? Because all of those things don't define me, but they're a part of my process and where I'm going and where I've been. And even deeper, how do I take what I've learned and grow into who I'm meant to be? Then COVID happened. Ooh, wait, COVID. COVID was my senior year, my last semester. And just like that, I was sent home to California. No graduation, no proper closing chapter, just transition. I tried going into the law field for a couple months, but something didn't feel right. And that's another lesson and a blessing story for another day. Just because something looks good on paper doesn't mean it's aligned with your purpose. I realized my passion was somewhere else. Systems and nonprofit, philanthropy, entrepreneurship, helping people bring their ideas to life, helping people realize that, anything that you do can be turned into a passion. That's what lit me up. Back in Marin County, especially Marin City, I encountered a lot of nonprofit work. And through those experiences, I learned one of the most important lessons of my life. When you are valuable, people or even systems will convince you that you're not. And when that happens, that's not your sign to shrink and be small. No. That's your signal that you've been thinking too small. Sometimes your old community can only take you so far. Not because they don't care, but because the systems haven't been built to support growth beyond a certain point. And if you don't recognize that, you'll limit yourself. So now I'm here, sharing my story, sharing my experiences right here in Marin County, especially Marin City. Because this is just the beginning. My awakening story has so many more layers to it, so many more lessons. But if you stick around long enough, you'll understand something. I'm still living every day. The silver lining is the process. It's not instant, it's not easy, but it's real. And as for me, I'm Yaya Morgan, and I will keep my promise. I'll keep my promise to become who I was created to be. Simple.